far, far from thy glory be what mortal man can affirm of thee, or attribute unto thee, or the praise with which he can glorify thee. Whatever duty thou hast prescribed unto thy servants of extolling to the utmost thy majesty and glory is but a token of thy grace unto them, that they may be enabled to ascend unto the station conferred upon their own inmost being, the station of the knowledge of their own selves. This is actually from the first quotation from Gleanings of the Writings of Baha'u'llah. It is the first selection selected by Shoghi Effendi. And it goes through a series of tiers of how humankind seeks to actually praise God. But that praise can only really be actually attributable unto those beings that we see in our world, the manifestations of God. But even less than that, that these are only an expression of the light that we see in our own selves. And the quote finishes with this, that whatever duty God has prescribed unto his servants of extolling to the utmost God's majesty is only that humankind can ascend to the station conferred upon their own inmost being. And that station is the knowledge of our own selves. So if we think about prayer and meditation, we're in a state where we're reaching our hearts and reaching our minds to try to understand the divine being. And in a sense, as we're doing this, we're actually just seeing more and more of the image or reflection of that sun in many vessels of water within our own selves. We begin to actually more deeply understand what the divine being is through our prayer, our meditation, our service, our exploration of the arts and sciences. And in such as we're ascending to the station conferred upon our own inmost being, we come to know ourselves. And here Baha'u'llah is telling us this was actually the purpose of worship. That this is what, as we saw at the very beginning, the manifestations are sent into this world to do. They're sent here to enable us to become what we're truly meant to be. That in a sense, as we're seeking to pray to our Brahman, our ultimate reality, as we're stretching our hearts and minds to actually push further and further our understanding of that divine being, it's actually ourselves that we're coming to understand. The meditations of the profoundest of thinkers, the devotions of the holiest of saints, are but a reflection of their own selves. This concept is very beautifully expressed by the Guardian in the following quote. The more we search for ourselves, the less likely we are to find ourselves. And the more we search for God and to serve our fellow men, the more profoundly will we become acquainted with ourselves, and the more inwardly assured. This is one of the great spiritual laws of life. The Upanishad seems to be telling us that our Atman is Brahman. I think it more aptly would be stated that our Brahman is our Atman. That how we define, understand, and express ultimate reality is actually in and of itself a vision of the reflection of God within us, the image of God in whom we were created. And the Guardian here is telling us that we shouldn't be seeking ourselves. We're not supposed to be searching for who we truly are, because the more we search, the less likely we're to find it. And he says, the more we search for God and serve our fellow man, the more profoundly we become acquainted with ourselves. Because if we truly understand that our reality is the image of God, that of love, of justice, of compassion, that mystic union with reality, that the more we begin to follow that path and express it in works of charitable acts, of service to humankind, we come to see what we really are. It's trying to express the fact that we have to realize that what we really are is a reflection of the divine. The more we seek to commune with God, the more we seek to serve our fellow men and stretch our understanding of what divinity actually implies, the more we're going to see, if you will, the reality of what we can truly be, and the more we become.